20 years. 20 years since Rai stood in that frozen cavern and received 3 legendary hearts. 20 years since the Emperor died seeking redemption. 20 years since Draken sacrificed himself believing humanity deserved another chance. The world had changed beyond recognition. The Orion Empire was gone, replaced by the Continental Alliance, hundreds of independent communities connected through trade, cooperation, and the Guardian Network. Wars still happened, but smaller, resolved faster. Famines were rare because communities helped each other. Children grew up believing freedom was normal, that they had choices, that power existed to protect rather than control. It wasn't perfect. It never would be. But it was better. Real. Built on hope instead of fear. And Rai had become a legend. Not the ruler, he'd refused that crown 1,000 times. But the protector. The wandering storm who appeared when communities needed help, then vanished before they could make him stay. Stories about him spread across the continent, growing with each retelling until parents told children tales of the storm bringer who challenged an emperor and won. But legends grow old like everyone else. Rai stood on his childhood cliff, the same one where he'd trained as a powerless boy. He was 36 now. Silver streaks touched his hair. His body still strong from 3 legendary hearts, but the years showed in his eyes. Eyes that had seen too much, lost too many people, carried too many burdens. The mark on his chest still glowed, sky serpent, phoenix, dragon intertwined. But it pulsed weaker than before. Not from injury or illness, from exhaustion. 20 years of using 3 legendary hearts simultaneously had taken its toll even on his enhanced body. "You're thinking about retiring again," Kira's spirit said, appearing beside him. She looked the same as always, forever young, forever fierce. "I can tell by that brooding expression." "I'm not brooding. I'm contemplating." Same thing with more syllables. She smiled. "You've been contemplating for 3 years. At some point, you actually have to decide." She was right. The Guardian Network was strong now, led by Lyra's successor after Lyra retired 5 years ago. Hundreds of trained protectors spread across the continent. Communities knew how to defend themselves. They didn't need him anymore. Not really. Maybe it was time to fade into legend. To let the next generation carry the burden while he finally rested. "What do you think I should do?" he asked. "I think you should stop asking dead people for advice and trust yourself." But her voice softened. "You've earned rest, Rai. You've earned peace. Whatever you choose, I'll support it." Before Rai could respond, he felt it. A disturbance in the air, like reality itself hiccuped. Not an Ascension signature. Something else. Something wrong. The sky above the ocean began to tear. Literally tear. Like fabric being ripped apart, revealing something behind it that shouldn't exist. Not darkness, but absence. A void where reality ended. Through the tear came something that made Rai's 3 legendary hearts scream warnings simultaneously. A figure descended, humanoid but wrong in every detail. Its body seemed to shift between existing and not existing. Where it moved, reality distorted, colors inverting, physics breaking. It landed on the water and stood there, defying gravity, defying sense. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "At last, the one who holds 3 hearts. I have searched 20 years for you. What are you?" Rai demanded, power already flowing through him. I am the consequence, the result of your choices. The figure's face was featureless but somehow conveyed sadness. When Draken gave you his full essence, he broke a fundamental rule. 3 legendary hearts in one vessel was never meant to exist. The balance is broken. Reality itself is unraveling because of what you carry. Kira appeared, blazing. That's impossible. Draken would never. Draken was dying and desperate to believe. He made a mistake born of hope. The figure raised an arm. I am the correction. I must take the hearts from you. If you resist, I must take your life as well. Either way, balance will be restored. Hold up, before this final battle starts, let me be real with you. This is part 4, the finale, the conclusion of over 30,000 words and Rai's complete journey. And right now, only 8% of you are subscribed. If you've watched all 4 parts, if you care how this ends, hit subscribe now. 2 seconds. Do it for Rai. Do it for yourself. Don't let this story die at 8% engagement. Part 1. The impossible enemy. You're saying I have to die to save reality? Rai's voice was calm despite his racing heart. Or surrender the hearts willingly. The result is the same. You lose the power that makes you who you've become. Then I choose option 3. I fight you and win. You cannot win. I am not an enemy to defeat. I am universal correction. Inevitable as entropy. The figure attacked. Not with energy or technique, but with something fundamental. Reality itself turned against Rai. Gravity reversed. Air became solid. Light bent into impossible angles. Rai channeled all 3 hearts, creating a shield of combined legendary power. Barely held. Every second of contact felt like his body was being unmade atom by atom. He counterattacked with lightning, fire, and dragon energy merged. The figure simply didn't exist where the attack landed, reforming instantly. You see? Futile. They clashed across the ocean, their battle visible for miles. But this wasn't like fighting the Emperor or Varkos. Those were battles of power against power. This was power against something beyond power, universal law asserting itself. Rai was losing. His 3 hearts, perfectly synchronized for 20 years, began to desynchronize under the pressure. The sky serpent's lightning flickered. The phoenix flames guttered. Even Draken's ancient dragon energy wavered. Rai! Kira's spirit poured everything into him. We need help. Call the Guardians. They can't fight this thing. Not the thing, US. We need to stabilize the hearts. Rai understood. He sent out a signal, a pulse of energy that every guardian within 100 miles would feel. Not a call for warriors, a call for anchors. Within minutes, hundreds appeared. Guardians he'd trained personally. Communities he'd protected. People whose lives he'd touched over 20 years. They couldn't fight the correction figure, but they surrounded Rai, lending their energy, their will, their faith. The 3 hearts stabilized, growing stronger. The figure paused. Interesting. You use connection to resist disconnection. Cooperation to fight inevitability. For the first time, something like curiosity entered its voice. Perhaps I misunderstood my purpose. Part 2. The truth revealed. What do you mean? Rai gasped, exhausted. The figure lowered its arms. I am universal correction, yes. But correction serves balance, not destruction. I assumed the three hearts created imbalance. But looking at this, it gestured to the hundreds surrounding Rai. Perhaps the hearts didn't break balance. Perhaps they revealed a new kind of balance I hadn't considered. Explain in words that make sense. Legendary beasts existed as individuals, isolated, powerful, alone. One heart per person was the old balance. But you've created something different. One person carrying three hearts, but connected to hundreds of others. Distributed power, shared strength. Perhaps this is evolution, not violation. Draken's consciousness stirred within Rai. I think it's right. I gave you my essence not to make you unstoppable alone, but to help you build something bigger. Connection, community, that's the new balance. The Sky Serpent and Phoenix added their agreement. So you're not going to kill me? Rai asked hopefully. I'm going to test you. If this new balance is genuine, if it can sustain itself, then it deserves to exist. But if it's fragile, dependent on you alone, then it must end. The figure's form solidified, becoming more defined. I will remove your legendary hearts temporarily. If the world you built collapses without your power, it was never real. But if it endures, wait. But the figure was already moving, faster than Rai could react. Touched his chest where the three hearts intertwined. Pain exploded. Not physical, something deeper. Rai felt the Sky Serpent's lightning being pulled from his core. The Phoenix's flames being extracted. Draken's ancient dragon essence being torn away. No! Kira screamed, her spirit form blazing as she tried to interfere. But she couldn't stop it. None of them could. Rai collapsed as the three legendary hearts were removed from his body, held suspended in the figure's hand like glowing orbs of pure power. Without them, Rai was just Rai, the powerless boy from the fishing village. 36 years old, exhausted, bleeding from wounds that suddenly hurt without legendary healing. Now we wait, the figure said. Either your world endures, proving the new balance is real, or it collapses, proving you were just another tyrant holding civilization together through personal power. Part 3. The Test of Legacy. 6 hours passed. Rai lay on the beach, too weak to stand, guarded by guardians who'd refused to leave. The figure stood nearby, holding the three hearts, watching. Reports came in constantly, messages from across the continent. And the news was fine. Border disputes in the eastern provinces, resolved by local councils without needing guardian intervention. Trade disagreement in the south. Merchants negotiated compromise themselves. Bandits attacking a village. The community's own trained defenders drove them off. A warlord trying to seize power in the north. Nearby communities banded together, offered him a council seat instead of territory, and he accepted. Problems arose, but people solved them. Communities helped each other. The systems Rai had spent 20 years building worked without him. The figure observed silently, its featureless face somehow conveying surprise. Fascinating. They don't need you. That was always the point, Rai gasped. I wasn't trying to be irreplaceable. I was trying to become unnecessary. Explain. The emperor thought only he could maintain order. He built everything dependent on his power. When he died, chaos threatened because nothing could function without him. Rai struggled to sit up. I built different. I taught people to protect themselves. I connected communities so they'd help each other. I made sure the system worked whether I existed or not. That was always the goal. Kira's spirit glowed brighter. He's right. We weren't trying to create a hero. We were trying to create a world that didn't need one. The figure held up the 3 hearts, examining them. Then these hearts served their purpose not by making you powerful, but by giving you time and strength to build something that would outlast you. Exactly. Which means, the figure paused, considering. Which means the new balance is legitimate. Distributed power through cooperation and community. Not one strong individual, but many connected individuals. Evolution, not violation. It approached Rai, holding out the 3 hearts. I was wrong. You should have these back. Rai looked at the glowing orbs: sky serpent, phoenix, dragon. 20 years of his life defined by their power. 20 years of being strong enough to protect everyone. And he made a choice that surprised everyone, including himself.
No.
Wait, before Rai makes this permanent, I need you to understand something. Only 7% subscribed for the finale. This is it. The end of the complete story. If you want people to discover this journey, if you think others should experience what you just did, subscribe. Like, comment, make it count. 2 seconds. Part 4, the final choice. What do you mean, no?
Kira demanded.
Rai, those hearts are part of you. They were. For 20 years. But maybe it's time. Rai struggled to his feet, weak and bleeding but standing. The figure was right about one thing. I can't hold 3 legendary hearts forever. Eventually, they'll tear me apart like they did the Emperor. Maybe not today, maybe not for decades, but eventually. So what, you just give up power? Lyra's successor, Commander Torin, stepped forward. We still need you. No, you don't. The last 6 hours proved that. The world I helped build works without me. Rai looked at the 3 hearts. But the power shouldn't be lost. It should be distributed. He turned to the figure. Can you split them? Give 1 heart each to 3 different people who'll use them wisely. The figure considered. Yes, but choosing worthily is difficult. I know exactly who deserves them. Rai pointed to 3 people in the crowd. A young guardian named May who'd spent 10 years protecting border villages. A medic named Tomas who'd saved thousands without ever raising a weapon. A teacher named Sarah who'd educated 3 generations about cooperation over conquest. Them. They represent what the hearts should be used for. Protection, healing, teaching. The 3 stepped forward, shocked. Rai, we can't. May started. You can. You will. Not as weapons. Not to make you unstoppable. But as tools to continue building what we started. He smiled weakly. Besides, I'll still be here. Just as a really good advisor instead of a living legend. Kira's spirit appeared before him, tears flowing. You're really doing this? Giving up the power that's defined you for 20 years. I'm not giving it up. I'm passing it forward. There's a difference. He touched her face. Isn't that what you did? What Caden did? What Draken did? Sacrifice the self for something bigger. I suppose. She smiled through tears. I'm proud of you, Storm Boy. So proud. I learned from the best. The figure approached the three chosen. Are you willing? The hearts will change you, burden you, demand everything you have. All three nodded. Then so be it. The sky serpent heart flowed into May. She gasped as lightning flickered around her body, but controlled, gentle, protective. The phoenix heart merged with Tomas. Healing flames surrounded him, warm and life-giving. The dragon heart entered Sarah. Ancient wisdom flooded her eyes, 5,000 years of knowledge finding a worthy vessel. They stood transformed but still themselves, not consumed by power but enhanced by it. The new balance is established, the figure announced. Distributed legendary power through worthy individuals connected by common purpose. This is acceptable. This is evolution. It began to fade. I will observe. If this balance holds, legendary beasts may begin choosing multiple vessels instead of one. Humanity may finally be ready. It vanished, the tear in reality closing. Part 5. The quiet ending. Rai collapsed, exhausted beyond anything he'd ever felt. Without the legendary hearts sustaining him, 20 years of accumulated damage hit all at once. Wounds that had healed instantly now ached. Bones cracked fighting Varkos hurt again. His body was failing. Rai! Kira's spirit tried to hold him, but her hands passed through. No, no, no. You can't. I'm not dying. Just really tired. He smiled at her. More tired than I've ever been in my life. Guardians surrounded him, carrying him to the nearest village. Healers worked constantly over 3 days. His body, no longer sustained by legendary power, was fragile. Human again. Mortal. But he survived. When he woke a week later, the world felt different. Quieter. Heavier, without 3 legendary hearts making everything easier. Kira sat beside his bed, her spirit form more solid than he'd ever seen it. You scared me, you idiot. Sorry. Don't apologize. Just don't do it again. She paused. I need to tell you something. Since you don't have the phoenix heart anymore, I can't manifest like this much longer. Maybe a few more times before the connection breaks completely. Rai had expected this, but it still hurt. How long? Weeks? Months? Not long. She took his hand. But that's okay. You'll be fine without me. You've always been fine. You just needed to believe it. I don't want to lose you again. You're not losing me. I'm just moving on. Properly this time. The phoenix's nature is rebirth. But rebirth requires letting go of the old form. She smiled. Besides, you won't be alone. You have an entire continent of people who love you. Over the next 3 months, Rai watched his legacy grow without him. May used the sky serpent heart to defend communities with precision and restraint. Tomas used the phoenix heart to heal plagues that would have killed thousands. Sarah used the dragon heart to establish schools teaching cooperation, spreading Draken's wisdom. And the world kept turning, kept growing, kept getting better bit by bit. Rai settled in his home village, the place he'd started. He trained young guardians occasionally, sharing techniques without power. He advised councils when asked. He lived quietly, peacefully, normally. Kira appeared less and less, her manifestations growing weaker. The last time she appeared, they sat on their cliff watching the sunset. This is it, isn't it? Rai asked. Yeah. the connection's almost gone. She looked at him with infinite love. Thank you, Rai, for everything, for never giving up when you were powerless, for staying kind when you had power, for building something beautiful. Thank you for believing in me, for sacrificing yourself, for coming back when I needed you most. Always, Storm Boy, always. She kissed him, the first and last time her spirit form was solid enough, and began to fade. Live well. Love someone. Be happy. That's all we ever wanted for you.
Kira.
But she was already gone. Finally at peace. Finally able to move on to whatever came next. Rai sat alone on the cliff, tears streaming down his face, but smiling through them. This is it. The end. If this story meant anything to you across 4 parts and 35,000 plus words, subscribe now. Not for me, for everyone else who needs to find it. Make it count. Epilogue. 50 years later. 50 years passed. Rai was 86, his hair completely silver, his body bent with age. The legendary hearts had extended his life, but now, without them, mortality caught up fast. He sat on his porch as a young girl approached, maybe 12, with fierce eyes and determination. "Are you really him?" she asked. "The storm bringer?" Rai chuckled. "That was a long time ago, child. Now I'm just an old man who tells stories. My teacher says you changed the world, that you proved kindness isn't weakness. I didn't do it alone. Hundreds of people helped. Thousands. That's the secret. Change isn't one person's work. It's everyone choosing to be better together. Will you teach me? I want to be a guardian." Rai looked at her fierce determination and saw himself at that age. Powerless, mocked, desperate to matter. "I can't make you strong. Only you can do that through training. I don't need you to make me strong. I need you to show me how to stay kind while being strong. Everyone says that's the hardest part." Rai smiled. This child understood what took him decades to learn. "All right, I'll teach you. But it won't be easy. I don't want easy. I want real." He stood slowly, bones protesting, and led her to the cliff where he'd trained every day for 70 years. First lesson: power isn't about what you can take. It's about what you can protect. Never forget that. "I won't." They trained as the sun set, an old legend passing wisdom to a new generation, and the world kept turning, kept growing, kept proving that change was possible. That night, Rai lay in bed feeling his heart slow. He knew it was time. His body had held on long enough, through sheer stubbornness more than anything. He closed his eyes and felt them. Caden,
Kira.
Draken, the sky serpent, the phoenix, everyone who'd shaped him, everyone he'd loved, everyone who'd believed in him. "I did my best," he whispered to them. "I hope it was enough." And in his heart, he heard their answer, all of them speaking as one. "It was more than enough. You proved that one person can start a change that outlives them. That power and kindness can coexist. That the weak can become strong without becoming cruel. You proved humanity deserved another chance. Rest now, Stormbringer. You've earned it." Rai smiled and let go. The boy who couldn't create a spark. The warrior who challenged an emperor. The legend who built a better world. The man who proved change was possible. Rai, the Stormbringer, died peacefully at 86, surrounded by everything he'd protected, everything he'd built, everything he'd believed in. And the world he'd helped create continued without him, exactly as he'd intended. The end. Some storms destroy, others bring rain that makes things grow. Rai was always the second kind.